And welcome to Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis. We're having a great day. We certainly are excited about the guest today. If you notice, we have some characters with us today, some interesting characters. And the camera's going to be showing these characters soon. In fact, just move this right over here. Okay, it's right there. It's fine. Okay, because I don't. There we go. There we go. Okay. The producers are all like, whatever. Anyway, we'll put it back. I just was wanting to see. By the way, this is Momo. If you remember Momo from the old YouTube scare, and that is a scary zombie looking thing. But yeah, Momo is probably the only one in existence that I know of, because the original artist who made it destroyed it, but kept the eyes. That's the scary part. Kept the eyes. But this replica was made by a very talented sculptor, a very talented mask maker, Jonathan Fuller, who's been a big fan of the Ground Zero show, and I've kept in contact with him for a long period of time. It's awesome that he does these things, and he does them so well. And so today on Channel Weird, we have with us good old Jonathan Fuller. Hey, what's up, man?
Hello. How are you?
So good to see you. And all your friends in the background too. That's amazing.
Hello.
Fantastic. Okay, so let me just ask you, how does one get into some of this? Was this a hobby of yours, or was this? I mean, you have so many different characters that you've put together here. Was it a hobby to start, or have you always had this knack for sculpting?
It started at a young age, watching sci-fi films, horror films with my dad. And I was always fascinated by how they did it. Like, I was just curious, like, how did those creatures come to life? So I just started dabbling with makeup first. I started, making my friends all up with, cuts and blood and gore, and started reading Fangoria magazines and watching behind the scenes. And then I didn't even get into sculpting until I was about 20, 21. And then I just started playing around with the clay. And actually, the first mask I ever did is that one back there, that demon. Mm-hmm. And I took that to a show, and there was a guy there by the name of Jordu Shell, who's like one of the major creature designers in the film industry. And he saw my work, and he's like, "You got to take my class." And I was like, "All right." So I went to LA, took his class, and then I was hooked. I was just absolutely hooked on sculpting, and then I've been doing it ever since.
You said you were actually into Fangoria magazine. I remember Fangoria and Deep Red and all those other magazines, and of course, Famous Monsters of Filmland, Forrest J. Ackerman. Did you get inspired by people like Stan Winston or maybe Tom Savini or others?
Oh, Tom Savini was the Goremeister of the 80s. He was, in fact, Jason Voorhees is probably my favorite character of all time. And I saw when he was doing the films, I got totally hooked on Friday the 13th films. Tom Savini, Rick Baker, Rob Bottin, which you don't ever hear about anymore. He just disappeared.
What about Don Post?
Don Post, when it comes to masks, yeah, that's his vintage masks. I mean, if it wasn't for Don Post, you probably wouldn't have a lot of what's going on today.
Yeah, it's funny that I know all these people, because like I was, there's so many things that when I was a kid I wanted to be. I wanted to be a horror host. I wanted to be a radio host. I wanted to be a weatherman. I wanted to be all these things. And it was all because of the fact, I mean, and even later on when I was, going between jobs and radio, I was doing fanzines, and we put together a fanzine. So we were always looking for artists and others who contributed to the genre of horror and sci-fi. And in fact, I had a chance to meet some of my heroes. I met Ray Harryhausen, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, it's just that it's a whole. I think it's a whole different world for people like you and me, where we grew up with these characters. We grew up with the nightmare, and now you're a creator of this. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, you're creating, and I've seen some of your work, very original. I mean, you've done a lot of variations too. I mean, I remember you did a mask of Pennywise. It was kind of a variation on Pennywise, and a few others. Tell me about some of your best work. I mean, you showed me the demon, but what are some of the other things you've worked on you're really proud of?
That's tough, because when you're an artist, you're happy for the moment, and then you look at it again and you're kind of like, I could do better. and then you just can't wait to get back onto the next piece. Like I'm always sculpting, I'm always doing something. People are always, impressed with how much I do, because I just constantly want to keep doing the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, because I want to see what I'm able to create. And in fact, this is kind of neat right here. I'll turn the camera and you can actually see one in clay. So this is how it starts. This is a clay sculpture. Before I finish it, it'll go into a mold, and then I'll create the latex mask after that.
So this is, I mean, because I'm used to, I was in a film called Nightfall, and they actually did a resin facsimile of my head, and it was really a scary process because they had to cover my head completely in the resin, and they shoved 2 straws up my nose so I could breathe. And then I'm sitting there for 20 minutes for the resin to kind of gel or congeal. They went off and had hamburgers, and they left me in this warehouse alone so they could go get hamburgers. And they came back. They took the thing off, and so they have a base here. They have my head. They had a base, because they wanted to have a scene in a vampire film where my head actually melts in the sun, because I'm a vampire and I get in the sun, and so my head melts and stuff. But see, these aren't resin casts. These are original, coming from your brain.
Yeah. I just sit down and just start sculpting. Sometimes I'll design it with a tablet. I'll do a sketch, just to kind of get an idea what I'm going to do. But usually I like to just sit down, take out the block of clay, and then just start going and just seeing where it leads to, because a lot of the stuff that I do now is the prototypes and design work for Halloween companies. So I'm the guy that designs the prototype, and then they take over and they get it produced and they show up in stores and whatnot. But they'll give me kind of like an idea. We want this, see what you can do. And I'll block it out. I'll send a picture. They'll approve it. Then I'll just continue to and finish it and then go on from there. But yeah,
so,
it's just.
So what do they do? You make use clay to make the sculpture. Mm-hmm. And then what do? They use that as the base. And then what, they mold the masks from the base, or how does that work?
What I do is, once I have the clay sculpture, I'll do a plaster mold on the clay sculpture, which is going to give me the negative. So once I have the plaster mold, then I take latex rubber, and I put it into the mold. And then once that cures and pulls out, that's your rubber mask, which is, here, I'll show you. This is a raw mask that comes out of the mold before I clean it up and paint it. So this comes directly out of the stone mold. And then what I do is I'll finish it, paint it, and then that'll be the finished product.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just so fascinated with this, because there's like it looks like every image tells a story. I also noticed behind you, it looks like you have what looks like a Frankenstein's monster up there, which it has this originality to it. But then I see Glenn Strange and Boris Karloff both at the same time in there. Yeah. What can you tell me about that mask?
This one up here is actually a friend of mine's who's also into the creature design industry. And he did, basically, like with all of us, we're always inspired by everything. Everything that we see on a daily basis inspires you. So once you start working, you're going to tap into those.
Right.
You're going to tap into something you've seen, or another piece that another character did, or you saw on a TV, and you're just going to slowly bring all those pieces into one. And it's always going to resemble something you may have seen before, which is hard to do, because it's hard to come up with something original, because there's so much that's been done. So it's kind of hard to come up with something nobody's seen before.
It still has a variation, though, because I was noticing, like I say, I'm noticing above you, I'm seeing that Frankenstein mold, or the monster, the creature. And like I said, it just you can tell there's Karloff in there, but there's even elements of Glenn Strange in there, because I don't think anybody really knows that Glenn Strange also played the monster. And it looks original. It looks like it's an amalgamation of both. So it would be an original composite that looks really good. I mean, it's like that. It looks more believable to me, like he's some sort of a convict that had his head shaved, and then they kind of like molded it over the brain. And it just like I say, everything that you do, everything that I've seen, that you've done, it has a representation of a nightmare character that you've seen before.
Right.
But it's not that character. It's you. It's what you've put into it. Right. And that's why, because like I said, we've had your masks at a lot of Ground Zero events. And people have gone for like the clown mask with the horns that
Mhm.
look like I say, Pennywise. We have this zombie that's in the studio with me right now that's on the other side here, and it looks like something that would be completely and remarkably taken from The Walking Dead, but it's so original that it you wouldn't see it in The Walking Dead. You'd see it,
Right.
in a horror festival. I mean, that's just amazing stuff,
Thank you.
amazing
Yeah,
art, and yeah.
yeah,
Were you
no,
saying?
it's it's tough to kind of find your way when it comes to work because you don't want to lean towards anything else. Because like certain artists are inspired by other artists, and then their work starts to look too much like that other artist, and they don't have their own kind of look. Like if people who know me, if they see my work, they'll be like, "That's a Fuller piece.
Yeah.
That's Fuller." That they can tell that there's something about that piece that rings true to what I bring to the table, my style.
But there's a realism to it too, because I remember you sent me it's an alien head. It's a
Oh
tiny
yeah,
alien head, and it's on a board. And I swear, we took that alien head and we put we laid it out on a table. And we put little blankets over it to make it look like it was covered up. It
yeah,
looked like a real alien laying there, and
yeah.
not some elaborate alien that you'd see. Like, I mean, I have a Don Post alien somewhere. It's like made its way through everybody's garage, I guess. I don't know if I still have it, but it was a Don Post alien that was given to me a long time ago, and it's one of those flat back
Yeah,
aliens. But this one had such a realism to it. It's almost like you could reach down and touch it and know that it would have the leathery skin, and it looked really good. And see, that's the thing, is that sometimes subtlety is better than just being elaborate. And I think
right.
that's another thing about what you've done and what I've seen in the past is the subtlety that you also put into it to make it look real.
The thing that you try to get is you try to nail, like what I try to tell people who ask me questions about this stuff is anatomy is the biggest part of all of this. You can put all the details you want into something, but if you don't have a natural anatomy to something, it's just never going to read true. So as long as you lock in that anatomy, it's gonna look like something that could possibly be real, even if it's an alien.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever built from a skull base? I mean, the idea of you taking a skull like they do, the anthropologists take a skull and then they mold everything around the skull. Have you ever done that as a base for some of your work?
I've used a skull. I've used a skull when I've done some zombie pieces, just so I can have that understructure. But a lot of times, what I like to do is I like to sculpt. Like if I'm going to do a zombie piece, I'll sculpt the skull first, and then I'll lay the muscle, the skin, and all that because I want to bring it. Because if the skull isn't right underneath all that muscle and skin, it's not going to read right when you're done. So
Right.
basically, it's like starting from the skull and working my way out until I have a final finished zombie piece.
See, I haven't thought about, you bring up an excellent point. You must have a really good eye for anatomy, because that's the whole point, is if the anatomy of the mask or the sculpture doesn't match the anthropomorphic nature of these monsters, some of them anyway, then it
Mhm.
has no effect. Because
Right.
I read a study one time about how we identify more with anthropomorphic monsters than we do with other monsters. So when you're making a monster, the anthropomorphic nature of it, that's what terrifies us, because we walk through the uncanny valley and we have to make the decision if this is human or not. And
Right.
if it doesn't have a definitive humanity to it, we look at it with repulsion. And so that's the whole thing, is taking the anatomy and kind of stretching it and extending it, or giving an expansion. We're going to be back. Jonathan Fuller with us, talking about his sculpting, his masks. Remarkable work from Jonathan Fuller. And we'll be back on Channel Weird. Don't go away. On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com.
It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain, and the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
On the phone with me is Ronnie from GetTheTea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. Welcome back to Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis. With me is, I don't know what is behind me right now. some sort of a bat vampire Nosferatu type creature giving me a massage. Okay. That's amazing. Jonathan Fuller with us, mask maker, sculptor. And we're glad to have him. Here's something. I wanted to, there's so many things I wanted to ask you, want to talk about. One of them is, have you noticed on Facebook now they're pushing these masks that they say that they look like that you can wear them and you look like an old man or you look like an alien. And I got bamboozled because I saw a mask that I thought if I wore it, I'd look like Albert Einstein. And I was thinking about going as Albert Einstein, to a party, and it came back and it was not even close to being as realistic. But they have those hyper realistic masks. What are your thoughts on those?
I think they're amazing. I know one of the major companies, they're Immortal Masks that put those out, and it's a really big market because the fact that you can move around in those masks, because the latex mask, you don't get the movability that you get out of silicone masks. They are pricey, and you mentioned that those Facebook ads, and there's friends of mine that are getting ripped off because of those ads. They're taking their pictures, advertising those masks, and then they're $19.99 when they're really a $600 mask.
Right.
And then you order it and you get this God knows what in the mail, and nobody's doing anything about it.
It looks like you get it at Walgreens. It's like a Walgreens cheapy mask. And that's the thing that bothers me because they make them look so real. And, nobody is getting online. I don't think I'm seeing the ads as much as I used to, but nobody's getting online and saying, hey, you order this and you're going to get a cheapy mask from Walgreens. And this is a ripoff. You're not going to get something that looks as good as what you do or what someone else is doing that's remarkable. So putting out a warning, if you're looking for masks for Halloween or you're looking for masks just for a masquerade party or whatever, don't buy those masks on Facebook because they're nothing like what Jonathan does or what anybody else does. So
no, it's like wish.com. You're not getting the item that they're advertising. It's a complete bait and switch. And like during the Halloween season, they were all over the place. There were ads all over the place. And I know a lot of the mask makers in this industry. And as soon as I see that ad, I'm like, I know that is not it. I know for a fact that that's not the mask that whatever this company is that's selling it, because I know the artist who did that mask, and it's not for $19.99. It's far from it. And it's just, it's unfortunate because a lot of people don't. They're just on Facebook. They see the ad and they're like, wow, that's really cool. And it's affordable. I'm going to get it. And it's just unfortunate for the person who buys it and for the artist who's getting ripped off.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking, the artists the artists would be ripped off and the people get ripped off. And it's just hard anymore. I remember back when I was a kid, there was a novelty shop. It was called The Keyhole. And they would have some of the best masks. They were Don Post masks, actually. And Star Wars, of course, at the time, it was like $40-$50 to get a good Stormtrooper mask or to get a Darth Vader mask. And I wanted one so bad. I was just like, wow. And they looked really authentic and really awesome. And now, though, it's a hobby for people. They go out and they buy the pressed plastic for the Stormtrooper outfits, and they go to all ends to get a realistic mask. Do you supply these hobbyists, the Star Wars hobbyists, or any other hobbyists for cosplay?
No, mostly what I do is I'll do commission pieces for people who want a certain character. My main thing is doing like what you see behind me is the mask or a bust. I don't do costume type pieces. But the thing that's going to be kind of neat is you mentioned Star Wars, and years ago I used to work for the company called Rubies, and they were a huge Halloween company, and I actually got to go to the ranch and get the actual molds from the film that were the actual original molds for the Stormtrooper costumes, Darth Vader, and everything. And I got to take those molds from the actual storage facility on, what do they call it? The Lucas Ranch, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And we got to take those, and we got to manufacture based on the original molds. We got to make the prototypes for the company that I worked for. and that was pretty neat. That was actually pretty cool to be involved in something like that.
Do you are you sought after to make designs for movies? Because I know that there are a lot of movies now that are looking for new monsters. A lot of the monsters I've been seeing lately in movies are terrifying, and why they're terrifying again is because they are like they defy explanation. I remember when I first saw the Demigorgon that was in Stranger Things. It looked terrifying because it wasn't anything that looked human. A
Right.
lot of monsters now, I mean, the Mind Flayer and all these other monsters look like they come out of H.P. Lovecraft or some other I guess you could call it creature from the abyss. Were you ever did you ever sculpt anything that would look non-human?
I back in 2000, 2004 is when I had my stint in LA, and I worked for studios, and I did mostly just sci-fi channel movies. Worked on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series and Angel, Miracles, doing creature suits and full body suits and all that kind of stuff. But I don't do much in the film industry anymore. I think I've kind of made my niche in the Halloween mask industry, so I'm always getting companies asking for me to do their prototypes. But as far as film work, it's been a little while.
And the demand is high now, I'm sure, because we do have live action role play. And I was talking a while ago about how now we're seeing an extended, I guess, time for. I mean, we have Halloween, but there are a lot of people, and I'm one of them, who extend the Halloween season in a way. I always feel that the wintertime is a great time for scary stories and scary images and that sort of thing, and that's why I extend. I mean, Halloween is not the end. I mean, by the time we reach
Right.
Christmas now, we have Krampus too. And I was even the other night, I was saying, I'm thinking the Thanksgiving creature would be the Wendigo. That, we ought to have a creature for Thanksgiving, and it should be the Wendigo because it's about ravenous gluttony. And, in times of, crisis and scarcity, the Wendigo comes about. And so I'm thinking that, if we could push characterizations that are horrifying well into the new year. You know what I'm saying?
There's something terrifying always. I think there's always something linked to something that would be terrifying. And the Wendigo is a perfect example, because I don't know if it has to do with the fact that the weather's changing, which makes people's moods change. That movie couldn't have come out at a better time, especially with the way things are going nowadays, where everybody's just kind of on edge, not as happy as they should be. And then that feeds into, bringing something to manifest something like the Wendigo. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
like everything that's going on is going to lead into something like that. And it all makes sense. And I can easily see that for the new year. I can see it for Valentine's. I can see it for Easter. I mean, everything.
We need to create creatures for every time of the year. We ought to have well, I mean, I guess, we have the Wendigo, Halloween can be anything. You can have anything in Halloween, but then you have the Wendigo for November. You have Krampus for December. January would be some sort of Saturnalian, old man that wants to, kill you. Just
Would
go down the list of things.
Would you like to see my Krampus?
Yes, I would, because I'm a big Krampus fan. I'd love
Okay,
to see
hold on.
Krampus. Okay, he's going to grab his Krampus. I'm a big. I mean, one of the things about Krampus is that they have the only place to get, the only place you can get them are Austria.
Yeah.
And I sent away for an Austrian mask, but it just seems like that is amazing. Oh, that is amazing. Look
You
at
got
that.
the bells and everything.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
So you've mounted that one. That is great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wall mount, little wall art.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that I would love to see many interpretations. I remember I had a Krampus party once, and there were so many people who I said, we want to have a Krampus contest, who can come up with the best Krampus. And we had, one of the things that really got me was somebody had come up with a Krampus mask that looked like it was made, it was a tribal looking mask. It looked like some sort of a forest creature or a forest, demon. And it wasn't like the other Krampus movies, because Krampus, definitely looks like a demon. He looks like a devil.
Right.
But this was different. It didn't have much form, but it had horns, and it had it looked like a scarecrow with horns. It was really creepy.
Cool.
And okay, we have a question here. What does Jonathan think of the trend when people are walking around in clown masks? How do you feel about that?
Oh, are we speaking about a couple of years ago when all those videos started coming
Yeah.
out? And I think what it is for some reason clowns are terrifying. Clowns are just terrifying to everybody. I mean, anyone I show a clown to, they say no, thank you. It's like no matter what, no, thank you. It's like everybody has a fear of clowns, and I think it was just one of those. I don't even know if I want to call it a meme, but it was like somebody did it. Somebody saw it, somebody else did it, and then it just snowballed.
Do you think Pennywise is responsible for that? I mean, the scary clown would be Pennywise, maybe the Joker. I mean, I know that Lon Chaney once said, "There's nothing more terrifying than a clown at midnight," and it's true. I mean, but a clown in his element, I don't think is as terrifying as if you were standing on a street corner and you looked outside and standing there was a clown with balloons. Jonathan Fuller with us right here. We're going to talk more about clowns. That's scary. Talk more about clowns, talk more about his work and his wonderful work. You see it behind him. You see some of it here in the studio today. Jonathan Fuller with us tonight on Channel Weird. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
It's a well-known fact that controversial talk show hosts have recently been censored and even banned on the internet by corporate and political interests. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. And in order to counter the suppression of information, we've decided to create our own private digital playground called Aftermath. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring a social media platform, videos, audio clips, archive shows, research groups, documents, and a news aggregator. In addition, we're hosting other Ground Zero friendly podcasts like Conspirafact with Wes and Bill, Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean, Pair Awareness with Mr. Gates and Isaac Weishaupt, Opposing Perspective with James Ponder, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray Valentine, and several more shows. Mobile apps for Android and Apple are available too. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month. And don't forget to check out the yearly specials, including the Friends and Family Pass with one main account and 3 sub-accounts. Sign up now by going to aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain, and the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com. getthetea.com.
On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
Getthetea.com. That's getthetea, TEA.com.
Fantastic. It's Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis with Jonathan Fuller, and so glad we have him on the program today. It's amazing to see this work, this art that is the horror art, and I was noticing this mask mask with the it looks like a zombie or an ogre or something we have in the studio here. You know, it just gets me that I think a lot of the time people say, well, this is all fantasy stuff. It's coming from the mind and imagination of someone. And I say, well, a lot of this has to be grounded in some way, grounded to a reality. And that's why I find the paranormal so interesting, is because there has to be a reality behind this. Wouldn't you agree that some of this, a lot of these masks and sculptures you do are based in a reality, in a sense?
Yeah, of course. Because I mean, like you mentioned that mask just now in your studio there. Deformities. I mean, as horrible as they are, people with deformities is something I see and can incorporate into a piece that I make. And that piece right there completely reminds me of, the Wrong Turn, the outback inbred family that lives in the woods somewhere that, was an inbred family that created these monstrosities of human beings. And believe it or not, that really does happen, has happened. And people like that do exist. I just take it to another level.
Well, it's like the Peacock family in the X-Files. I don't know if you ever watched that episode.
Yeah,
That was one of the scariest episodes. In fact, it's so scary they won't even air it anymore.
Wow.
Especially, when you're listening to Johnny Mathis, these mutants are killing the sheriff. It's really creepy to remember that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of deformities are terrifying, and it's sad that people, or you see. One of the films that had a lot of deformities in it was Sentinel. I don't know if you ever remember the Sentinel.
Yes.
But yeah, I remember when I was a kid and I saw that movie, and they had the guy he had this huge chin that dangled, and he had this other, and it was like, wow, these were demons, and they looked human, but they were off because of their deformities.
Right.
And you're right. It's I was raised on, a lot of horror. Is this where you come from too? Were you raised on a lot of horror films?
Yeah, I'm just in a different. I'm the 80s, 90s horror kid. And I never what irritates a lot of the friends of mine who are into the Hammer horror and the black and white Lon Chaney stuff, and I never watched any of that stuff, and I feel bad. But I was raised on 80s horror, 80s and 90s horror is where my bread and butter comes from. I mean, that's just what I was completely into. I never got into the older stuff.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, the older stuff is campy, and as it advances, I mean, that's the thing, is that there's always the argument as to whether or not you can be better doing a CGI character or doing a masked character. I just touched on something here.
Yeah.
Tell me about your feeling. I know you're a sculptor and you make masks. Tell me about CGI and how masks. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
my personal belief is CGI is kind of like something that you use to enhance something. But if you completely create, there's been times that CG's worked and you look at it and you're pretty impressed with it, but there's just something wrong with it, because I don't know if it's the fact that actors are acting to a green screen or a tennis ball. They're not acting with a puppet or a creature in their face, so it just seems artificial to me. Right. And when I don't see rubber, which is flesh and bone, I guess, on the film screen, it just doesn't read right to me. It just right. drives me crazy. I like CG when it enhances something, like a certain creature can't do a certain thing, so they use CG to enhance it. But a completely built from the ground up CG monster, it just doesn't. Right. I think I'm biased because I sculpt. I like to use my hands and get dirty.
Right.
And seeing that, just yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Either it's because of endearment or because when we were kids we were fascinated by it. But there's nothing better than Muppet Yoda. I mean, come on. I mean, Muppet Yoda was
there.
Yeah, he was there. He was tangible. And then, of course, we saw the slick down younger Yoda that was a CG character in the prequels, and it didn't have the same charm.
Yeah, and then if you notice when you're watching a film with CG, like I think, what was it that I just was it Antlers?
Antlers CG? No. Antlers wasn't CG.
No. Antlers was a puppet. That was phenomenal.
Yeah,
that was great, and it was scary and original, and it was.
I think going back to the anatomy, what you were saying earlier about anatomy, that film captured the best anatomy cadavers I have ever seen in a film.
Oh,
seriously,
the one on the table.
Yeah,
the victim.
Yeah,
that is pure art. I mean, it was the most realistic dead body I think I've ever seen on film.
Oh yeah.
It was incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. They went to detail. It's like, you were saying about anatomy, and it's true. If you can detail the anatomy without making it look hokey, then you have to be a person who knows anatomy to make sculptures like that, because that was one of the things that really impressed me. While the story was grim and kind of low-key and a slow burn, the effects with regard to the bodies and the effects of the Wendigo itself, I thought were amazing. I really did think they were amazing.
I don't want to give any spoilers, but the glowing chest was, I mean, that was so neat. It was so cool to see that, like to see the essence of that creature radiating from inside.
That's taken right from the mythology, though. You know that, right? That the heart of the Wendigo glows, the body glows, and so it's taken right from the mythology. And I just know that one of the things, though, is they took liberties with the antlers, but the antlers were terrifying because of the fact that they were like weapons, they were like knives, and so yes, I'm sorry that we're just talking about antlers, but the movie Antlers, though, I think captured what a true sculpted. It was a puppet, you say, a true sculpted puppet that isn't CGI, and how effective it is when you're in it. I mean, I jumped. I jumped. It was so scary when that thing showed up. And then they had it on camera too. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, this isn't CGI. This is something amazing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I don't normally jump at movies because I do this 24/7.
Right.
But there was a moment in that film, my kids and I,
oh yeah,
I never jumped so much. I mean, I jumped clearly out of my seat. Was a scene. Right. I'm not going to say too much.
We're not going to say the scene, but it's the same scene I'm sure you and I both jumped at, because they have jump scares in the movie, but this was something that was over the top. And
we my kids and I, we looked at each other like, did we seriously just jump that much?
Yeah.
I mean, it really got us.
Really effective.
It was great.
Very effective. I think that's one of the greatest characters. Another character too, back to Krampus. When they did the Krampus film, it was like, I compare it to Christmas Vacation, where Christmas Vacation is there and then Krampus shows up and then everything's scary. But that whole scene where they're in the snowstorm and Krampus is like jumping from house to house, and it sounds like he's a jet. There's jet engines in him or whatever. Yeah. It's the creepiest thing ever, especially in the dark when you're seeing this mound of whatever he is with the horns and the face. and that's well done too. And they did that with puppets too. They did that with a huge. They had to make a huge puppet, and it was like it had to be worked. I think 3 people had to make him work.
I watch that film every Christmas. I love that film.
So do I. I do
one
too.
Of the better ones.
And see, that's the thing is, I think people forget that, because Halloween happens and immediately it happens too quick, and immediately we're back to Christmas music, we're Thanksgiving it and everything else. But the truth is that the whole time between when the sun sets early and darkness prevails, there has been like a constant barrage of scary things that happen. Like in the winter, it's time to talk about the werewolves. Werewolves happen. They're a winter creature. Wendigos are winter creatures. Krampus is a winter creature. And we don't know if he's a creature or if he's some sort of somebody said he was like a fairy. He's part of the fairy groups or the fae groups or whatever.
Krampus?
What's that?
Krampus?
Yeah, isn't he part of the fae group? Somebody told me that he's like a fairy.
Yeah, I thought he was the alter ego of Santa Claus.
He is, but apparently he's like. Somebody had said that he's like the fairy folk. He has a relationship with. What's that?
He's got hooves.
Yeah, well, he's a demon. Yeah. Come on, let's face it. He's a demon. He's the Christmas demon.
I love it. I love Krampus more than I like Krampus more than Santa Claus.
Oh, so do I. I've got and that's the thing is I got a Santa suit and I got a Krampus. I want a really honest to goodness Krampus suit. In fact, what was interesting is that 2 years ago when we were able to have Krampus parties, I dressed up as Krampus, and then I got Wes Gotko as like 6'8" to dress up as an ice god, and he had the horns, and it looked really awesome. It was it was a mushroom head mask, actually, is what it was. Jonathan Fuller with us. It's such a great time to talk with him about what scares us, and it's amazing. Right here on Channel Weird, we'll be back with more. Don't go away. On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
A lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
Getthetea.com. That's getthetea, TEA.com.
Fantastic.
Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis. Have you ever wanted Ground Zero merchandise but didn't know where to go? Well, I want to let you know that we now have our own online store with such items as t-shirts, hoodies, decals, tote bags, and other exclusive specialty apparel. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. Coming soon will be signed posters and coffee mugs available as we are constantly adding new items. So shop today at the official Ground Zero store by going to groundzeromerch.com. That's groundzeromerch.com.
It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain, and the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, it's Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis. Jonathan Fuller with us. Okay, so we know how you feel about CGI. You know what a lost art is? Stop motion. How do you feel about stop motion along with the other stuff besides? I mean, I know CGI, bad news, but stop motion is an art. It's an art form. Like I said, I met Ray Harryhausen. I was very impressed with him. I saw some of his little models that he used for like Clash of the Titans and the Flying Saucer from Earth versus the Flying Saucers, and he even did the work on George Powell's War of the Worlds, which was amazing. But tell me, what do you think about stop motion?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's still used today. I think, in fact, you know, some of the creature stuff that we see in film, I'm almost positive that they have smaller scales of said creature that they use in certain scenes, and it's actually done in stop motion, like the Rancor. The Rancor was stop motion.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, I think it's fantastic. And then even you go back to like what was that fun animated stop motion where the boy saw the ghosts? Paranorman.
Yeah, Paranorman.
Oh
yeah, Leica. I forgot all about that. Yeah, Leica is very good at that stop motion stuff. They did the Bigfoot one. They did Leica. They did Paranorman. They've done enough. Yeah, you're right.
I think was another one.
Yeah, Caroline.
Yeah.
And you know, it is good. It's like I say, it's a lost art. A lot of the stuff is lost art being replaced by CGI. In fact, if I remember correctly, Stan Winston said that there were also some stop motion stuff done with Jurassic Park as well.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. You know, even miniature work, I think is phenomenal. When they do miniature work where they film it and you think you're looking at a full size city, and it's this big.
Right.
You know,
well,
I think
Godzilla. I saw. You know, I know that Godzilla was. They always do Godzilla with stop motion in a lot of respects. The Japanese do. Toho does a lot of stop motion with Godzilla. I've seen they still crank out the Japanese Godzillas, even though now we have the Canadian American Godzilla that's really popular, King Kong versus Godzilla and all the other monsters. But the
newest what was it? Shinju
Godzilla. Yeah,
that was cool.
Oh yeah. It was a metaphor for what happened with Fukushima.
The atomic bomb.
Yeah, no, it was a Fukushima metaphor.
Oh, the radiation leak. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had to freeze the Godzilla in the middle of the city, and they said that any time it could unfreeze and Godzilla could rampage again. So I mean, these metaphors that are using stop motion and they're using all that, and that's why, like I say, I mean, you go back to Yoda in Star Wars and how Muppet Yoda was far more interesting than CGI Yoda, and so CG. And here's another thing too, though. What do you think of deepfakes? What do you think of? I remember Tarkin being brought back for Rogue One. What do you think of that?
Deepfakes scare me because I look at it from what people can do with it. I think when it first came out, everybody was paranoid about, well, what's going to happen when they start using deepfakes on the news, or what's going to happen when they start using deepfakes in, everyday life, to where you think somebody said something when they really didn't because it was a deepfake.
Right.
I think it's terrifying. It's cool in movies because they bring back somebody like in Star Wars, where they brought back an actor who passed
Peter
away.
Cushing. Yeah, Peter Cushing. Yeah.
And they did the same thing with Princess Leia. They did the same thing with her in the recent films when she had passed away before the filming was ended.
Right.
They did that, and it's cool, but it scares the crap out of me because.
Well, you got to admit though that in The Mandalorian, when Luke Skywalker shows up,
that was cool.
That was a religious experience. It was
weird.
I say it was a religious experience for a lot of people.
I thought it was weird because my brain couldn't. My brain was confused on why it was seeing a young. It was weird to me.
Yeah, it was. I remember when it happened, and in fact, we had the chance to see it again. We were at I think a Thanksgiving party or a Christmas party at a friend's house. And they have a huge theater at their house, and even with kids screaming in the theater because it was a family gathering and they brought kids. And the kids were screaming. Even with that, and Luke Skywalker showing up, everybody just quieted. The kids shut down. Everybody shut down, and we're all like with our mouths gaping out. And we'd seen it like several times before, but our mouths are like dropped. All of a sudden, goes, "It's Luke Skywalker." It's like, my God, it was really weird how it affected us.
Well, what's going to happen when that's the new actor, the new actress? We're not going to need anybody anymore because they can just digitally create them.
Well, I always say that, they always are talking about how Sebastian Stan should play Luke Skywalker because he looks a lot like Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
And also the girl that's in Stranger Things.
She could play Princess Leia.
Oh yeah, Princess Leia? She could play. She'd play a young Princess Leia. No argument there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see them, continuing with Star Wars or with anything else because they have plenty of material. But it's just that maybe they should cut back a little bit on the CGI characters and start going back to the idea of enhancing them with CGI rather than just giving us CGI.
I think what it is a lot of producers in the film industry, they want to do they want to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. They want to do the quick. From what I understand, CG is quicker than doing practical effects. So I think that's another thing, because when it comes to production times now, they're half of what they used to be. So they need to get the product done and out there and put out there so they can make their money back. And they go straight to the CG aspect of everything.
Right.
But what I wanted to mention, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I remember how hokey it was when the Matrix, the second Matrix, used CGI for Neo. It looked really bad. But yet we let it. I mean, Scorpion King too. That was really bad.
Oh, the worst thing I've ever seen in my life was Scorpion King.
Yeah,
that was The Rock. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it was just a mess. Bad. So I mean, I believe I believe that it's a lost art, but needs to be redone. We have the technology now to make prosthetics and everything. I mean, I remember the Alien movies. They used prosthetic aliens. And then as it progressed, they were using CGI aliens, and it just didn't have the heart as before. I think when you have an actor playing with an actor, it tends to be better than when they're, like you say, playing to a softball or to a tennis ball. And
I have a 17-year-old, and I showed him Thing for the first time, the original Thing. Not the original, but the one that Rob Bottin did the effects for. And my son was blown away that was actually rubber and puppets and people manipulating it, and he was absolutely blown away. He's like, "Dad, that is so much cooler than what they put out in films today with CG."
Yeah, I agree. What are you working on now? What are you working on now in your projects, your little bag of tricks?
Right now, I'm just, like I said, I just designed for Halloween companies, which is kind of tough because I can't show anybody. I can't share it with anybody, because like this one here that I'm doing that I mentioned earlier, probably not allowed to show it, but
you're showing it. It's a clown, right? Is that what it is? It's a clown.
Yep. So that's what I've been doing a lot of the times, is just designing for these companies and unable to do my own stuff and share it, because you got to wait until they're ready to show their product before I can share the sculptures.
Do they give you a concept, or do they say have at it?
Usually it's pretty much have at it, which is better for an artist because you hired an artist for a reason.
Right.
You want that artist to do what they do best. So if you start to handcuff them, they're not going to give you, their best work. So I get kind of an idea like clown, scary clown. That's all I need. And I'll go and do that.
Yeah, I just was wondering because I know that, I've had a lot of concepts about horror creatures and, and I have nowhere to, go to say to an artist, okay, this is the concept I have for a horror creature. Can you do this? I just wonder if that's how it's done. Because I know they used to do movies based on cover art that they did for posters and everything else.
Yeah.
I hear the music. That means we're getting ready to go. But I just want to thank you, Jonathan, for being on the show. All your great work, everything you've done. And it's really informative to hear about just what goes into the business of scaring us. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you for the time. I love showing this stuff. I love talking about it. I love showing it, and more people need to see it.
Yes, they do. Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be, seeking you out to maybe do some work. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Have a good day. Take care.
Yeah,
and that's the Channel Weird, everybody, and Jonathan and everybody. Hope you guys really enjoyed this because it was really fun for me, and we'll see you next week.